Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of BoofBite Fishing. Today we are back with another What's Catching. This barra season there have been so many good catches and so many different lures working, especially in my area. So today I thought I'd make a video just explaining and showing you what has been working, especially with the tactics and the retrieve styles and where to fish the lures and stuff like that. So I thought I'd make a quick video about what lures have been working, and hopefully you find this helpful. Before we get into this video though, I do want to give a massive shout out to Sean from How to Outfish Your Dad for helping me out with this video. He's been absolutely smashing the barra in our local impoundment recently, so he's got heaps of tips, he's got heaps of knowledge, especially surrounding freshwater barra. So make sure you go check him out. I'll leave all his social medias in the description, and I'll leave them up on screen here. Make sure you go subscribe to his YouTube channel. It'd mean a lot if you could do that for me. I'm sure he'd appreciate it as well. Massive thanks to him for helping me out with this. He's got a heap of knowledge, and yeah, hopefully you guys can learn something from it. Alright guys, we have a few more than 4 lures today because there's just been so many different tactics and lures working. So it is going to be a little longer, but hopefully you guys can find some good tips about these lures and how to fish them and stuff like that. As I always say, I have not caught a barra on every single one of these lures that I'm showing here today. So no, I have not used all these lures and caught barra on them recently, but other people have. So yeah, hopefully enjoy and hopefully you can learn something from it. Alright, the first lure, and it's not technically put just into one lure, it's more of a style. First style of lure today is we have big paddle tail soft plastic. I have no idea what brand this lure is, but it's a massive paddle tail soft plastic, and that is what is seeming to be working on the plastic side of barramundi fishing at the moment. Usually the bigger the plastic and the bigger the tail, the better, to get those actually monster barramundi that are in our impoundments. You can fish them weedless or with a jig head. Ones that are working super well at the moment are Happy Rock Softies, especially in the big willies. As always guys, I will leave all the links in the description for all the lures that I show here today. But the big willies, or just big paddle tail soft plastics, are working extremely well, especially in the standing timber in our impoundments. Also, your Z-Man Minnow Z. These are in the Gold Rush. One of my favourite paddle tail soft plastics for barra. I personally don't use a lot of paddle tails for barra, but I usually like using hard bodies and curly tails. But a lot of people are smashing them on the big paddle tails. And if you are looking for that massive barra, a big paddle tail like this, you can't go wrong on it. So I do highly recommend big paddle tail soft plastics, especially Happy Rock Softies in the big willies. They are working extremely well in the standing timber and in the deep holes at the moment. Remember, a barra is not always going to want to eat one of these massive paddle tails. Sometimes they'll only want a tiny little snack, especially with the amount of bait that's in my local impoundment, especially at the moment. They're going to be eating stuff like this all day, and sometimes they only may want just a tiny little snack like this. There are no set jig head sizes that you have to use. It varies on water depth and the sink rate that you're looking for. I personally use a 1/8 or a 1/6 in most of the terrain that I fish. A lot of it, especially in our impoundments, is standing timber, and I'm not looking for a super fast sink rate with soft plastics. I'm looking just for a subtle sink, and the barrel will be enticed as that little paddle tail sinks in the water. So that's it for the soft plastic side of things. We've got quite a few hard bodies to go through because there have been so many that have been working. The style that has been working for these barra are the deep diving suspending hard bodies. Now this is a Kato Aura. I don't believe they make these anymore, but this style is definitely what they're chasing. Perfectly shaped like a mullet or a herring or a bony brim. Deep diving and suspending. In the standing timber, where a lot of people are getting their barra in their impoundments at the moment, you really need to work it down into the deeper water, and then you need to leave it there. So that's why the deep diving bib and suspending are a crucial part of impoundment barra fishing, especially in the standing timber. Now, I could not get my hands on all the lures that we have here today, and I will leave all the proper ones in the description that have been worked. One of the best deep diving hard bodies that are working at the moment in our impoundments is the Duo Realis 100 DR. They are working so well. That's pretty much all people are using, especially in my local impoundment at the moment. Word has spread pretty quickly that they're one of the best deep diving hard bodies for impoundments, mainly because of their size, the swimming style, everything adds up, and apparently it's a pretty good lure. I haven't personally used them myself, but I have seen the rewards people are getting from them, and it's pretty cool to see. So I can highly recommend them. I couldn't get my hands on them because they're a tad expensive for me. Yeah, Duo Realis 100 DR are working extremely well at the moment. Also, the Yakamito Hyper Jerks, I couldn't get my hands on them either. I'll leave them here, and I'll leave all the lures in the description as well, guys, so you can go check them out. So yeah, those two deep diving hard bodies are working extremely well, but don't be scared to use something a bit smaller like this, or even switch down to something even smaller like this. This is a Warlock in the 52mm. It's a pretty colourful pattern. You can use more natural colours. They tend to work a bit more, but if you're looking for something to really catch a barra's eye, you can go a little more colourful like this. Also, another deep diving hard body that's working really well is the Bass Day Sugar Deeps. I believe this is the 100mm. That's just another one you can use. Deep diving and suspending, it's basically all you're looking for in a hard body at the moment, and this kind of minnow slender profile is working really well. Also, guys, don't be scared to change down your lure size or your lure tactics. What I'm showing you here today is not the only things that are working. Don't be scared to experiment and try different things for these barra. They're not always going to be biting the same thing. They're not always going to be biting in the same patterns. They may want something different, and that's something that you've got to evolve and change with barra. Even the most experienced barra fishermen have still not been able to figure out these fish entirely. The places where you're using the deep diving hard bodies is the standing timber in the deeper water. You're working those lures down. Make sure you get them down to that depth where the barra is sitting. That's something you may have to figure out as well, where the barra is sitting. But get them down to that depth and then work them however you see fit for what the barra are liking at that moment. If you're seeing lots of bait splashing on the surface, if you're seeing really fast moving bait, then try a bit more of an erratic approach. Or if the fish are a little bit lazier, like you're not seeing much bait moving, or the bait you are seeing is very slow, try a bit slower of approach. So yeah, make sure you just keep an eye on the water, keep an eye on your surroundings, keep an eye on the bait, so that you can always stay on top of what the barra are eating and what they're taking a liking to. On the topwater side of things, my favourite topwater lure for most things is the Savage Gear Big Walk the Dog. This is one of my favourite ever walk the dog lures. It's got one of the best actions. It's got these really sick reflector panels that come in most Savage Gear lures these days, and they work deadly for barra. They've got one of the best actions I've ever seen in a walk the dog. Really wide action, so you can walk them nice and slow. And these rattlers, don't know if you can hear that, these rattlers make an epic noise on the water. I swear they actually get louder. But I can highly recommend these. Also big poppers like your Halcos and your massive fizzes. Big fizzes like this. Also big poppers. Big poppers are working really well. My tactic with poppers is 2 pops, depending on how big you want it. The size of the pops can vary. 2 pops, and then leave it for sometimes up to 30 seconds. As long as they know it's there, and the longer you leave it in front of their face, the more they're going to think about it, the more they're going to eat it. So sometimes up to 30 seconds between your 2 pops is working really well. And tactics with this is just 10-second bursts of walking, 15-second break, and then continue that for the rest of the cast. That's what I find, but remember, you can change it up depending on what you're seeing and depending on what you want to do. So thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Remember to go check out Sean from How to Outfish Your Dad. I'll leave all his medias in the description. He's been a massive help for this episode, so make sure you go subscribe to his channel and give him a follow on his Instagram and Facebook. So I do thank you for all your support. I know there's been a bit of a break between videos. There's been so much on recently. I haven't really had a time for a fish. But hopefully you were able to find this video helpful. If you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that as well. Thanks for all your support, everyone. Can't thank you enough. It's super fun being able to do this, and yeah, hopefully enjoy this episode. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.